Okay, so this meeting is being recorded. Dave, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Emilio.
Great, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. So everybody knows Dave and I, we started working on this a couple of months back, and we started speaking with all of the different panelists that you'll see today. I'm going to stop sharing this video in just a second, but I wanted to keep it out there because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? These are actually local storm drains. I took this video myself, just walked up to some of these drains, just to give a quick sense of what we're talking about, some of the things that we can actually see ourselves. A lot of the contaminants that get into our stormwater systems and eventually discharge into Biscayne Bay, we cannot see. But these are the things that we can see. Something that's that I think is a curious thing that I wanted to highlight with these videos is that a lot of what gets into the storm drains is actually organic matter. Like leaves, for example. You're seeing a lot of plastics and trash in there, but there are a lot of leaves. And that also contributes to pollution in the form of nutrients, right? That's not supposed to be in the bay. But we're going to get to all of that in just a second. So let me stop sharing this. I'll go to my presentation slides now. Just bear with me for a second, folks. Okay, so now I should be on full screen mode. Dave, thumbs up on full screen. Awesome.
Yep. Did you need to hit the live stream to Facebook button?
You know, I think that might cause issues. So.
Okay, then don't worry about it.
Yeah,
you can watch the recording.
We won't do that now. Everybody, you know, very clear. Says it in the bottom, and I'll say it again. We are recording. We're not live streaming this time, but we are recording. So this will be made available to you. On the bottom of the screen, you can see our website for the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition, biscaynebayfl.com. That's where we'll upload the video. We have resources there. Anything that the presenters can also share afterwards in terms of slides and additional documentation, we'll make sure to share that via email as well afterwards. So rest assured that, that we will have this information available for you. So let's get to it, right? So who are we? Who is the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition? We're essentially a group of volunteers, and we focus on three things: advocacy, communication, and education. On the communication front, not only do we have these types of events that we host, we did host the 2017 Biscayne Bay Marine Health Summit. That was our group. That was at FIU. We had about 250 people. We did the same thing in 2018 with a much smaller group. Bigger event in 2019. 6 months ago, we had a town hall, and every single time we're talking about the same thing. How do we protect Biscayne Bay? Okay, go to the next slide. Here's a look at our steering committee. We're all volunteers. We have day jobs as well. Luis Rodriguez, he's been here for a very long time in the environmental sector. He's the founder of our group. Camila Quaresma Sharp, she is the chair. A little bit about me. In my day job, right, as you know, we're all volunteers doing this. So in my day job, I work with public works professionals. I focus on the design of solutions to prevent stormwater pollution, and that's really my focus. I'm also out in the field, and like I said, I took that video myself. I'm showing trash that gets into the stormwater systems. I'm part of the American Public Works Association local chapter. I've also taken several courses in stormwater management, and this is really what I focus on nowadays. And what do we want to do today? We want to share experiences from public works departments, from public works departments for public works departments, and anybody that's supporting public works departments to take action. Right? So we want to inspire action, and very importantly, we want to answer your questions. So within the navigation pane for Zoom, there's a Q&A section. If you add a question in the Q&A, the panelists can see the questions, and anybody else that's on this meeting can also see the question. If you want to type a comment to somebody else's question, you can do that. And if you are a panelist and you're seeing this, all you need to do is click type answer, and that will allow you then to type an answer for that. Panelists are also able to answer live, although since we do have a pretty packed agenda, we want to avoid answering live for these questions, but we can type the answers in there. So going to the next slide, I'm trying to fly through this. So let's set set a baseline understanding of what we're talking about in terms of stormwater pollution. So we know that it comes from a lot of different sources, right? It causes a lot of different issues. I'm going to assume that most of you know a lot about this, so we're going high level here. Another very important thing is that a lot of the trash is in the oceans. We all know about this. We talk about it. We see these dramatic images of fish that have plastics in their gut. We know that humans are consuming that as well. A lot of it comes from land, right? And that's in a way, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity that we have to address the problem on land. 80% of it. This is only talking about plastics. I know it's a narrow focus of this slide, but that just gives you a sense of the issues. We also know that this trash and litter clogs up the pipes and it leads to flooding. One of those quotes that you see down there in bold, that's from the City of North Miami website, but this is a very, very, very well documented issue, that pollution is not only an issue from a health perspective or ecological perspective, but also financial and other impacts like flooding. Okay, so what are some of the local problems? So I mentioned that I go out there, and here's something that we've done. We've done this with a volunteer group, Center for the Seas. We've gone out with the City of Miami Public Works Department. We physically swept in front of some of these storm drains, and we quantified, we weighed how much stuff are we capturing there, right? What's there? So like I mentioned before, a lot of what we capture is leaves, right? Nutrients contained in there. There's also a lot of street litter, okay? If you were to quantify per inlet, very rough estimate, we're talking over 100 pounds of trash every single year for each one that's going in there, right? Trash, I mean also debris, like leaves, which is, again, it's a problem. If we look at 95,000 plus storm drains that are in the county, we're talking about potentially 16 million pounds of leaves and trash that are entering the storm drains. Not all of that gets out into the bay. Not all the systems are connected to the bay, but this shows you, gives you a sense of the magnitude of the problem. And if you break this down using the Florida DEP nutrient load calculator, this represents a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen, many pounds of that. That's very important. You'll hear why pretty soon. We know that we have a moral responsibility to protect the bay, and public works officials also have an opportunity because they can have a lot of impact in order to do this, and they want to do this. When I talk to public works folks, they know about the problems, they want to address them. Another reason why this is important is because for us, Biscayne Bay is the driver for our economy. Okay, this is a very old study. This is 2004. Look how many billions of dollars we're talking about. We're talking about a lot of jobs. So when you think about protecting Biscayne Bay, it's not only about human health. It's not only about environmental health and our ecology, local ecosystems. It's not only about having fun. It's about protecting our jobs. Okay, so it's a very, very vital part of our economy. And what are some public works departments saying? So 6 months ago, before a town hall, which we did via Zoom, for the coalition did this, I asked public works departments via a very brief survey, what are some things that you would like to take action upon from the Biscayne Bay Task Force recommendations during the next 12 months? And you can see here from the responses that public works departments want to take action. Okay, very action focused. You see and highlighted in red, these are two of the, I think, 62 different recommendations from the Biscayne Bay Task Force at the county level that got a lot of little check marks there. That's public works department saying that we definitely want to take action on these things as well as the others. Good things. There are many options out there for maintenance and removal of debris. This slide may be a little bit confusing for some folks if you're not familiar with the way these systems work in terms of how does the water go from the street into Biscayne Bay. So if you go from left to right, left you have the street, right? So the rain falls on the street. It takes water into the storm drains, through the curb openings, through the grates. It goes into a box that's called a catch basin. And typically there's a smaller pipe that's coming out right out of that box. Then it goes into a bigger one and a bigger one and a bigger one. And then you see this large pipe at the end, and eventually it flows out into the bay. Not all the systems discharge to the bay. I'll make sure that everybody understands that. And this is not a representation of all the different maintenance practices, but in general, the closer to the street, to the source that you're able to capture this trash, the cheaper it is, right? The more economical. The further out you go, the more expensive. There are many different solutions. Some of them are intended to keep this at the street so you can capture it at a much lower cost. And then for many reasons, you want to have a variety of solutions, and you'll hear that from public works departments. But they're out there, these solutions, so you can capture, so then you can remove at various points. I'll go through this quickly. Another important thing is that locally, there are many organizations that are supporting protecting Biscayne Bay. So if you're a public works official and you're saying, where's the support? Who is supporting me in making these investments and taking this action? There are many groups. You can visit our website. We have a listing of several of them with contact information. So you can go ahead and connect with them and be supported, because we are supporting. So for our agenda today, we'll have several speakers. I'm going to quickly go to one of our polls and I'll initiate this, okay? So poll number 1, I'm going to launch this. So you should see a pop-up on your screen asking you a couple of questions. What's your role in stormwater management? And also, what is the pollutant that you're most concerned about in Biscayne Bay? So please feel free to click your selections. I'll wait a few seconds here. Answers are coming in quickly. Okay. Oh, I think it says sharing poll results. I'm not sure who clicked that. Does everybody see these results? Dave, can you let me know? Do you see the poll results?
Yeah,
I see poll results, but I'm in.
It looks like somebody else clicked on something. I'm going to click on share results.
okay. Yeah, we can see it now.
You can see them? Okay, fantastic. So this gives you a mix of where people are in terms of their role. So we have a pretty solid mix here, very well distributed group of people. A lot of folks are saying that they're concerned about nutrients. Okay, so this is very important, but we're also concerned about plastic litter. That's the number 2 item. And also the vehicle pollutants and bacteria. Again, this is a very, very quick poll that we conducted here. I'm going to stop sharing those results now. So now let's go to opening remarks from Irela Bagué, Chief Bay Officer for Miami Dade County. Congratulations, Irela. This is a new position, the first time that we've had a Chief Bay Officer. Please feel free to take it from here, Irela.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. It's so good to be back with my dear friends of the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition. I just want to say that this group was really the catalyst that brought so much attention to the declining health of Biscayne Bay. And we all, because I'm part of it, we've been part of much of the progress that we've made so far to date. So I'm really proud of the work we're doing, and you know, now with this new position that I hold, and today I'm really glad that we're discussing stormwater issues, because as we all know, what happens on the land ends up in the bay. And our stormwater systems, you know, as Emilio, you know, showed, carry trash, pet waste, fertilizers, oils and fuels, yard clippings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And these attribute to the increases of the nutrient pollution that ends up in our waterways in Biscayne Bay. There is no question about that. It is one of the, you know, largest contributing factors to what we found when the task force deliberated, that it was one of the biggest problems that we face today. As we also know, the heavy rainfalls and heavy rainfall periods that we have over the summertime particularly, and sea level rise pose unique challenges to our existing stormwater systems. So the Biscayne Bay Task Force report recommendations, they provide an opportunity for us to really explore how we can better improve and manage these systems and work in a purposeful and collaborative way with our MS4 permit holders. To set significant pollutant load reduction goals. And that's one of the I think one of the biggest challenges we have, because we have so many cities. But again, collaboration and coordination is going to be key to our success. And on that note, I really want to commend the cities that have already taken the lead and started piloting innovative solutions already, and as we've identified in the task force report. I also want to share that I'm currently working with Commissioner Rebecca Sosa to move forward on many of the report's stormwater recommendations. So I'm excited to hear more about today's webinar and some additional ideas that we can gather from today. And I am also very thankful and grateful to the leadership of Mayor Daniela Levin Cava, her support and her one water approach to many of our water quality challenges. So it's a very exciting time for Miami Dade County and for the Bay. And lastly, again, I just want to thank my colleagues on the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition for dedicating and volunteering your time to plan these webinars and educational sessions with the public and private sectors. This is really where I see progress being made. And so your work, our work together is very important. So with that, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy learning about the best practices to improve our stormwater quality before it reaches our waterways in Biscayne Bay. So thanks.
Thank you, Irela. That's great. It's a great summary. And so that everybody can better understand the mix of speakers that we have. Right? We have Miami-Dade County. We have local municipalities, Aventura, City of Miami Beach. We have Professor John Sansalone from the University of Florida. So we're trying to bring you a mix of expertise so that we can give you a variety of perspectives and solutions that others have implemented to support you and your efforts. So with that said, the next speaker is going to be Mallika Muthiah from the Stormwater Management Division, or Water Management Division from DERM at Miami-Dade County. So Mallika, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can go ahead and share your slides. Thank you for joining us, Mallika.
Thank you, Emilio. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mallika Muthiah, and I work for Miami-Dade County. And today's, let me see. In today's presentation, we are going to talk about National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, NPDES, the federal program, Miami-Dade County's NPDES permit requirements, monitoring, TMDL, source tracking, street sweeping, collaboration with the co-permittees, challenges that we face, public outreach, takeaway actions. Any data provided in this presentation pertains to calendar year 2019. The NPDES permit is issued by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, FDEP, and FDEP is the regulator. Miami-Dade County is not the regulator. Permit is issued to Miami-Dade County and 32 co-permittees. The co-permittees are the municipalities, FDOT District 6, MDX, Florida Turnpike Enterprise. City of Miami and Hialeah have their own permit. Each co-permittee submits their NPDES annual report directly to FDEP. In the county, NPDES activities are primarily performed by the Department of Regulatory and Economic Resources, RER, Public Works, Water and Sewer Department, Solid Waste Management, the Parks Department, and Florida Yards and Neighborhood. The permit activities for the NPDES permit include inspections and maintenance of the stormwater system and the secondary canal system, flood control projects, street sweeping, facility inspections, complaint investigation, permitting and inspections of construction activities, sedimentation and erosion control training, outreach activities, and surface water quality monitoring. These are the stormwater structures that can be found in Miami-Dade County. Maintenance activities are performed by public works. Engineering, planning, and inspections are conducted by DERM. The stormwater infrastructure is inspected annually after storm events and for complaints. The following maintenance schedule is followed unless an inspection finds an immediate risk after storm events. French drains, trenches, catch basins, inlets, drainage pipes, 3 to 5 year cycle. Outfalls are maintained 1 to 2 year cycle. Pollution control structures annually. Secondary canals are maintained with 4 cycles per year, and pump stations are maintained weekly. There are 107 active monitoring stations in Miami-Dade County. 66 stations are along the inland canals. 41 stations are in the Bay region. The county has entered into a joint interlocal agreement with the co-permittees. The county conducts county-wide surface water quality monitoring, and the cost is shared among the co-permittees. The county prepares annual water quality monitoring report and shares the report with the co-permittees. These are the pollutants that are being monitored on a regular basis. Most of the pollutants are monitored monthly or bi-monthly. Total maximum daily load is TMDL. FDEP has adopted TMDLs that are applicable to Miami-Dade County. There are only 4 TMDLs in Miami-Dade County, and they are for fecal coliform. They are Little River, Miami River Upper, Miami River Lower, and Wagner Creek. FDEP has adopted new standards for E. coli and enterococci to use in place of fecal coliform. What do we do when we find high concentrations of a pollutant when it is detected in a water body? Source of pollution must be identified and then eliminated. There are a few options available. A combination of these options will be better. Walk the VBID. Walk close to the water body and visually observe if there are any illicit discharge pipes to the canal or other potential sources of the pollutant. In the neighborhood, observe if there are any notable odors, outdoor markets or produce packing facilities, homeless population, open garbage dumpsters, birds, restaurants, medical facilities, or any facilities out of the ordinary that may be a potential source of the pollutant. Direct or indirect runoff from certain sources could cause pollution. Additional water quality monitoring of the discharge points, the outfalls. If sampling results indicate high concentration of a parameter, continue upstream and collect samples in the stormwater structures. If you still find high concentrations, continue upstream until pollution source is located. Use GIS drainage maps. Source molecular is a DNA testing for bacteria pollution. It is to identify if the source is human, animals, birds, etc. Closed circuit television CCTV monitoring can also be used to look for damaged pipes, illegal connections, and cross connections between sanitary sewer and storm sewer. There are no set state criteria for nutrients such as total phosphorus, total nitrogen, and chlorophyll A for the inland canal system. For the canal system, assessment must be based on water quality monitoring data collected and trend analysis. However, Bay regions have state-established numeric nutrient criteria based on annual geometric mean for total phosphorus, nitrogen, and chlorophyll A. These are data for phosphorus, nitrogen, and chlorophyll A for the Bay region from our water quality monitoring report for 2019. The first row indicates the state criteria, and the subsequent rows are data for various parameters from 2015 to 2019. This is the table for total nitrogen and chlorophyll A. No more than one exceedance in any 3 consecutive years is the rule. There are 4 Bay regions that are non-compliant with the total nitrogen standard, and all the 9 regions are non-compliant with chlorophyll A standard. So this is like these figures indicate numeric nutrient assessment for the first one is chlorophyll A, the second one total phosphorus, and total nitrogen. Trash and nutrients must be captured prior to entering the bay. The most economical option is not to let trash and debris get into the bay. The operations in this slide are performed by Public Works. The data pertains only to unincorporated Miami-Dade County, excluding data from municipalities. From the street sweeping operation, total miles swept, 7,868. Their frequency of the street sweeping is 5.5 cycles in a year in 2019. The sweeping material, 868 tons. Debris removed from drainage infrastructure such as catch basins, 5,234 tons. The maintenance frequency is 3 to 5 years. Total nitrogen loadings removed 4,038 pounds, and total phosphorus loading removed 6,535 pounds. Litter collection and litter control is performed under contract through Parks and Open Space Department. The roadways contract deals with medians with roadside curbs and swales. They maintain 1,060 miles, 20 cycles a year, litter collected 780 cubic yards. The roadside contract is for curbs and swales only. Area maintained 3,047 miles, 12 cycles a year, 423 cubic yards. Miami-Dade County collaborates with the co-permittees. The surface water quality monitoring data and report are shared with the co-permittees. The county compiles facility inspections, complaint investigation, and enforcement related information and provides them to the co-permittees for use in their annual report. The county also organized a co-permittee meeting with the FDEP staff as the guest speaker prior to obtaining our current Cycle 4 permit. The county shares sample documents, responds to questions from the co-permittees regarding NPDES requirements. It also shares public outreach brochures. The challenges that we face as stormwater professionals: public awareness, excessive water and fertilizer use for landscaping. Switching from septic systems to sanitary sewer connection may be costly. Identification of specific source of pollution may be difficult and expensive. Deteriorating infrastructure may cause sanitary sewer overflows. Sea level rise might affect infrastructure performance in the future. Involvement of multiple stakeholders means progress. It is important it will help in better understanding of the sources of pollutants. It enhances environmental awareness and responsibility. These are the brochures that the county prepared for pet waste, guide to septic systems, do you know your flood zone, and stormwater pollution solutions. As you can see, stormwater runoff may end up in aquifer, canals, creeks, rivers, or lakes. It is all connected. So what are the takeaway actions for us? Enhance street sweeping operations, enhance stormwater infrastructure inspections and maintenance, allocate funds and incentives to facilitate switching from septic systems to sanitary sewer connections, apply source tracking methods to facilitate identification and help eliminate pollution sources, reduce the number of sanitary sewer overflow incidents, promote low impact development and green infrastructure. With regards to education and outreach, only rainwater into the stormwater system, planting of Florida friendly plants and trees, keep the storm drains near the homes clean, proper disposal of paints and household chemicals, reporting of illegal dumping into our water bodies or the stormwater structures. Other information is available for flood complaints. Call the Water Management Division at 305-372-6529 or email swu@miamidade.gov to report illegal connections, dumping of any liquid or materials into storm drains or water bodies. Call the Environmental Complaint Desk at 305-372-6955 or email environmentalcomplaints@miamidade.gov. That concludes my presentation, and I appreciate the opportunity to present these slides. And thank you very much. Be safe and well.
Thank you, Mallika. Very much appreciated. So in the questions and answers section from the participants, audience members, there's this one question that really, and I'll have to paraphrase it because it's lengthy, that really rose to the top. A lot of people gave a lot of thumbs up to it. So I wanted to ask you and get some of your thoughts on it. So one of them is, since plastic pollutes from the time that it is produced, not just when it is littered, is Miami-Dade County going to pass more policies that will reduce the amount of single-use plastics and polystyrene foam used, distributed, or sold?
That needs to be dealt at a very high level. And I am very happy that we have a chief bay officer to handle the issues. But it's a very important question. It is done in several municipalities and other areas. I would be very happy to see something like that. Maybe our chief bay officer can help us with this question.
Great, thank you. Irela, I'm not sure if you want to jump in and throw some thoughts in there. If not, that's okay.
I mean, I would just start with the fact that, it is frustrating that many of our local governments are preempted at this point from receiving, from enacting some of these bans to plastic, bags and single-use plastics and polystyrene. I was serving on the sustainability board of Coral Gables, and we went all the way to the Florida Supreme Court on this one and lost. So I think there's a lot that we need to do as far as education and really engage the public. We are responsible, and there's things that we can all be doing and educating folks to do to reduce our usage. In the meantime, I think that there is legislation right now at the state level trying to do away with some of these preemptions. And so we'll be probably exploring that with our commission and see if that's something we want to support. So to be continued. Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you, Irela. Thank you, Mallika. Mallika, there's just one more question that I'll ask you. So I looked at the data that you were sharing. I noticed that based off of some of the measurements that your team has collected, that nitrogen has been an issue, that it has exceeded the thresholds that were outlined in the data. Are there current efforts or conversations about having nitrogen as something that should be regulated with a TMDL?
Establishing TMDLs is the state of Florida's responsibility. I am not aware of any FDP responses regarding TMDL for total nitrogen at this time.
Okay.
But in the county level, I think they got some kind of grants, and they are trying to implement measures to reduce the nitrogen here.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks a lot, Mallika.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So now we're going to have a presentation by Professor John Sansalone from the University of Florida. Just so that everybody knows, especially if you're a public works professional, the state of Florida, Florida DEP, they have a nutrient load calculator, which is essentially an Excel spreadsheet where you can plug in data for the amount of pounds of trash that you're collecting, either via street sweeping. Now, okay, I say trash, but I mean debris, right? And everything that you're collecting via street sweeping or vector cleanings of your catch basins. And you can use that spreadsheet, which is official on the Florida DEP website, to calculate what that represents in terms of nutrient load reduction, specifically total nitrogen and total phosphorus. Now, this is backed by a lot of science, a lot of data. Professor Sansalone has done research himself throughout the state of Florida, and he's going to share some of this so that you can see the science that has already gone into this, the data, all of this in-person physical analysis that has been done on pollution and stormwater runoff in the state of Florida. So with that, I'm very pleased to present Professor Sansalone. I'm going to stop sharing my slides. So Professor, please feel free to start sharing. Thank you.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Not at this moment.
Huh? So what do I need to do on my end?
So on the bottom, it should say screen share, and then you can select either a specific app, or you can just share your entire screen, which is probably the easiest thing to do.
No, when I do this now, I get who can share and who can start sharing. Hold on, hang on, let me go through it this way.
Okay, I'm seeing something happening. It looks like,
Okay.
yes, now we can see it.
All right, good, 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 good. All right, I'm gonna go to full screen here. All right, so my introduction today is mainly about the science of maintenance that has been such a critical discussion today. And so I'm going to talk about particulate matter and nutrient load recovery, load credits, and cost for maintenance activities. Now, I'm abbreviating and lumping everything as PM, particulate matter. This includes trash that we've seen in the pictures, debris, detritus, biogenic material, leaves, grass clippings, etc. And critically, all of the associated chemicals. Here our focus is nutrients. And so I want to put the summary up front. And the summary comes down to two words: maintenance matters. And in this presentation, I'm going to document that, especially from a cost point of view. So with that, University of Florida, we've carried out actually 3 projects across the state, starting in 2006, when a year after I came to University of Florida, and a major project was completed by 2011, another one completed by 2019. The primary project objectives was really to create a Florida-based yardstick or metric that allows an MS4 or any municipality or public entity to quantify nutrient loads, nitrogen and phosphorus, through separation, then recovery of particulate matter. All of this material, biogenic, leaves, particulate matter generated by traffic, et cetera, et cetera. For 3 common hydrologic functional units. Pavement systems, basically pavement cleaning, which I'm here to tell you, you will never create a best management practice as efficient as pavement cleaning. And I say that as a person who's built a career on computational fluid dynamics of best management practices, and there is nothing as effective as pavement cleaning. Catch basin cleaning, inlet cleaning, and regular and frequent maintenance of best management practices, whatever an MS4 considers a best management practice. If they maintain these devices on a frequent basis, and you'll see the reason scientifically for this at the end of the presentation, you not only have a better best management practice that functions as designed and intended, but you're getting load recovery of N and P. So in the end, all of our outcomes were Florida-based metrics based on, in the second study, 14 MS4s. In the most recent study, 12 MS4s. A critical point, the outcomes allow dry equivalent, not wet loads, dry equivalent loads of PM separated by maintenance or recovery to be converted to N and P. This is the critical linkage because N and P are expensive to analyze. The key is, do we have a surrogate that is statistically and probabilistically defensible that we can use? And the answer is particulate matter, all of that stuff we collect. So I'm not going to dwell on this much, but if you believe in land use, we looked at land use, or we looked at independence from land use. Also, Florida is the leader in terms of wastewater reuse, so we quantified outcomes inside and outside of reclaimed areas. Dave was very concerned when I wanted to show this slide. He said, look, too technical, there are equations in here, but there's a critical point to this slide. Particulate matter represents a continuum of stuff, and nitrogen and phosphorus partition to this continuum as a function of particle size. What particle sizes you capture matter, period. And we can go through the dynamics of particle transport, and that's buried in this slide. But the point is, especially for nitrogen, if you are able to recover that particulate matter upstream through pavement cleaning, you have done yourself a significant favor before it ever enters the stormwater system, or before you have to clean it out of a best management practice. Frankly, many of the best management practices we deal with are certainly not best. They're poorly managed and they're poorly practiced. All right, so let me do a quick review of project methodology. We looked at 14 MS4s, 3 of them had inside and outside of wastewater reclaimed areas. You can see the pictures. You know, as Emilio said, much of this is biogenic material. It is what it is. When we create impervious pavements in our urban areas, we create efficient conveyances to catch basins for all of this biogenic material, which frankly should go back as recycled and compost material. But our impervious pavements don't allow that to happen. So we have the situation that we have. So we had a sampling process, we had a lab analysis, and we collected in the second study 500 and some samples from across the state. They were all brought back to our labs for analysis, and we created 300 and some samples in the last phase. So we have a huge database. In the second study, our BMP classifications between inside and outside of wastewater reclaimed areas are shown here. And we pushed back a little bit with DEP, maybe back in 2008, 2009, because they wanted us to focus strictly on ponds, or what I prefer to call basins. And we said, no, we want to focus on a diversity of BMPs. Whatever BMP that municipality is maintaining the most, we want to focus on so we can get them NNP load credits in their basin management action plans. And eventually FDEP said, yes, we agree. So there was a whole process of QA, QC. There were databases for each municipality. Exhaustive databases provided, and all of those have been tabulated. They have been available, but in the end, we created statistics and probability distributions from the data sets for total phosphorus, total nitrogen, extractable phosphorus. We did this all in our NELAC certified labs. The science is rock solid. In addition, we looked at what does this mean if we capture particulate matter from street sweepings. For example, 150, 60 kilograms of particulate matter per mile swept. We create a yardstick relating that to total phosphorus. And then, since typically street sweeping vehicles are tiered initially and then weighed afterwards, we can document the dry equivalent PM as long as we subtract moisture contents. Now, many municipalities don't use mass, the weight of the truck, they use volume. So we have also established a way to convert a volumetric measurement to a gravimetric measurement. So what are the results? And we looked at these in terms of highway land uses, residential land uses, and commercial land uses. You could make an argument for other land uses, but these were the land uses that we examined. So this is a typical result. A probability distribution, a frequency distribution, here milligrams of total nitrogen per dry kilogram of particulate matter. The data are log normally distributed. That may not mean much to some, but basically what that says to us is we need to use the 50th percentile of the data for load credits in basin management action plans. In the spreadsheet we created, the tool, the 50th percentile statistics are embedded. So we did this for BMPs, we did this for street sweeping, we did this for catch basins, and we did this across land uses. So you can imagine, to be statistically significant, this database had to be large, and it was. So here are land uses. Here are our tabular and non-parametric data. One of the issues that came up is, should there be a numerical offset for loads recovered from inside reclaimed wastewater areas versus outside? As of the last report, this answer is not definitive. Intuitively, I expect that answer to be yes, but we really do need a more highly controlled project across Florida, given that Florida is a leader in reclaimed wastewater. Moisture content requirements. For us to go into the lab and measure moisture content is very straightforward. For many municipalities, this is burdensome. So we went out and we measured moisture contents. We picked the median, the 50th percentile. For BMPs, there's a 26% moisture content. Catch basins, 21%, and street sweepings, 6%. I was very adamant about using these in the updates to these from the 2019 report, because a municipality cannot take credit for moisture. The moisture content must be subtracted to get the dry equivalent loads. Also, FDEP pushed back against the argument that Florida basins are in the same population as other BMPs in this study. And I presented this slide to them and they didn't grouse at me too much. But in fact, there is both a physical and statistical basis for including basins with other BMPs from a partitioning point of view. Partitioning here means milligrams per kilogram of a nutrient. So, you know, the benefits of basins are hydrologic controls. Most BMPs, especially manufactured BMPs, provide no hydrologic control. So from that point of view, hydrologically, they are different. But from a partitioning point of view, they represent the same population. I don't have time to go through actual numerical examples. My advice is both reports are publicly available. Take a look at, in particular, the 2010 report. But the upshot of maintenance is in the next two slides, which are my last two technical slides before conclusion. If you do not maintain your system, and here the top set of data is a treatment train, settling followed by filtration. The second set of data is just a primary clarifier, a typical pond. And the third set of data is a screened hydrodynamic separator. You see that there is significant decline in performance when the maintenance frequency exceeds 2 months. And I would argue for a screened hydrodynamic separator, if you're not cleaning those devices every month, you are seeing a significant decline in what is only, at best, a 50% removal under clean conditions. This is an absolutely strong rationale for frequent and regular maintenance, period. And finally, if you didn't need more of a rationale for maintenance, look at the cost of separation and recovery. And let's just pick on total nitrogen for this purpose. BMP treatment trains, about $935 per pound of TN recovered. The Florida database for BMPs from FDEP, that goes up to $1,900 per pound. If I looked at screened hydrodynamic separators, now we're over $3,000 per pound. If I go to maintenance activities like street sweeping, I'm down to $165 per pound. and catch basin cleaning at $1,000 per pound. Why wouldn't you implement maintenance practices? Building all the BMPs in the world are not going to solve the problem, and you don't have enough dollars to do so.
Thank you, John. It's great.
So, conclusions or no conclusions, Emilio?
Conclusions.
Okay. So bottom line is, I know this is a little nerdy, but the data are log normal. Therefore, you use the 50th percentile. That's what I built into the spreadsheets. The results are important for load allocations and load credits. But note, there is no singular concentration, but a log normal distribution, and we use the 50th percentile. There is still debate about the enrichment from reclaimed wastewater. If you ask my professional point of view, there is enrichment, but we need more work. Cost of load recovery is just significantly lower than current manufactured BMPs. Even if we assume that these BMPs are maintained annually and do not scour or wash out. Moisture content is a critical parameter. You must account for that. Just a nerdy thing, but you have to. So maintenance is far superior to manufactured BMPs that have been used, and basins have hydrologic benefits over these manufactured BMPs. One point, and this was an arm wrestling contest with municipalities, the data need to be used on a Florida-wide basis and not intended to compare MS4s. Statistically, it would be insignificant. All right, that is the end of my talk.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated. I'm going to share my screen quickly over here. Just 1 second. Okay, so there's a lot of information. So in case anybody has not seen this before, you can just Google search for this, Florida DEP, this MS4 load reduction tool. So this is a lot of what John was providing us more details about. Okay, so this is it's an Excel spreadsheet where public works departments can simply type in the amount of pounds of trash that they're collecting via various maintenance activities. And the spreadsheet already factors in a lot of the important things that John was mentioning, like moisture content, right? And it will tell you the nutrients, and specifically the total nitrogen and total phosphorus that collected debris accounts for. So this is very important. Now you know the details and the science that went behind this. This has been thoroughly researched, and thank you, Professor Sansalone, for sharing these details about this. So I'm going to the next slide here where we have another poll. So this second poll, which I'll launch right now, should be popping up on your screen. So please feel free to answer this poll. We have only a couple of questions here. One is, do you think we should be classifying plastic litter as a pollutant and having TMDL with metrics? And the other question that we have there that should be on your screen should be, what do you think the biggest obstacle is to improving stormwater management? So please feel free to make your selections there, and I'll end the poll once I've seen several people answer. Right now we have 171 people on, which is fantastic. So I'll wait just a few seconds. Once we have a substantial number, once we see these little bars not moving too much, then I'll go ahead and close out the poll. So far, 60 of you have already answered. Okay, so it looks like things are starting to even out here. I'm going to keep it open for a sec just to see the things coming in, but I'll tell you right now there's a definite yes for question number 1. Yes, and the TMDL should be an MS4 requirement. And for question 2, funding for infrastructure solutions and maintenance. That seems to be what is number one. And then the second one is talking about addressing pollution and pollutants and paying attention to them. So I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results quickly with everybody. So here you go. Dave, would you like to take it from here with the presentations from public works officials?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. We're sharing the results. Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. So far, it's been a great conversation. I love these things because I'm continuously learning. I'm leading a roundtable discussion today with public works officials. Let me give you a quick background on me and why I'm even here. My name is Dave Doebler. I am a steering committee member of the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition. I'm also co-founder of volunteercleanup.org, where we're focused around marine debris. I am a complete accidental activist, an informal researcher and citizen scientist. So I think I have been learning quite a bit. I am not professionally trained in this, but we have, let me tell you a little bit of our journey, because what we've wanted to do today is to bring together all of the experts. So let me share just a little bit of backstory on me. My journey started with the day on the water. I love being out paddling, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking. And one day I found, I was paddling and I started just picking up trash, and there was a whole lot of it. So I started doing this every week, and I would collect 75 pounds of trash from plastic shopping bags, soda bottles, lids, styrofoam, plastic straws, the same stuff that we all find if we're walking around the streets. And I discovered that it was coming through storm drain systems. And to be honest with you, I didn't even realize this before I got into this space. I don't know that I necessarily correlated street litter with litter in the environment. I always used to think that it was like boaters and cruise ships and stuff like that, but it's not accurate. So street litter, which is both plastic trash and natural debris, goes into the storm drains when it rains, and pollution controls capture this, but they're only effective if they're cleaned frequently. And trash that makes it past the overflowing pollution controls discharges into the waterways. In this picture here, you can see where I kind of made that connection. This was a picture of a stormwater outfall that was completely clogged with trash. And that was contributing to the flooding that we were experiencing here in Miami Beach. So the goal of this webinar is to highlight current and future opportunities to keep trash and nutrients from going into Biscayne Bay via the stormwater system. And recognizing that I don't know what I'm talking about in the grand scale of things, I'm not a public works professional. I wanted to highlight three entities that have been doing that have been focused on this issue and been increasing their protection of Biscayne Bay through active stormwater design and management. So today we're going to have a panel conversation with Anthony Mihalko, who is with the City of Aventura, Alan Dodd, who's with City of Miami, and Nelson Perez Hakame, who is with City of Miami Beach. And we already asked the poll questions, but each of these panelists is going to give a quick overview of their stormwater program. And we've asked them very specifically to tailor their conversation, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, on their current stormwater infrastructure, their maintenance program, and their future plans and goals. So what I'm going to do is ask Anthony to share his screen and to just get us kicked off, giving us a quick overview of what City of Aventura is doing.
Okay. Get my screen up. Share. Can you all see my screen? Oh.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. All right, my name is Anthony Mihalko. I'm the stormwater coordinator for Public Works. Our department actually formed in 2016. I've been here since 1997, working for the Community Services Department. But in 2016, our department split, and I'm moved over towards the Public Works end. Since then, I've gotten my Florida Stormwater Operator 2 license, and I am a graduate of FIU. I have a degree in construction management. An overview of our current system. We have over 532 inlets, 258 manholes, 28 control structures, 44 wells, and 57 outfalls. If you could see from these slides, a majority of our water that's collected goes to this 36-hole golf course. And we actually use the water from these lakes to help irrigate all of Country Club Drive. And in fact, we also use this drainage system here on Aventura Boulevard, where we have 2 well pumps that pump fresh water through our drainage system into the lakes to help prevent the saltwater intrusion, so we can maintain the landscaping of all around Country Club Drive and Aventura Boulevard. We do have some outfalls if the lakes ever get too high. Since I've been here for the past 23 years, I've seen probably 3 events where the lakes were so high, you couldn't tell the difference between the lakes and the street. That's when I remember one time we recorded 19 inches of rain in 2 hours. And our system is really only designed to handle about 2 inches an hour. So that made quite a mess. But when it does ever get that high, we do have structures in place. We have one here on the north end that goes out here into the intercoastal. And on the south end, we have 2 check valves that go underneath the causeway into the intercoastal waterway. Let's see here. The way we keep nutrients out mostly is street sweeping. The curb inlet filters, which were provided by SOP Technologies, landscaping staff, and jetback. And in one instance last year, we actually used scuba divers to help clean out one of our pipes. As far as the maintenance, street sweeping, we do one every week from March through August, and bi-weekly September through February. We kind of picked that period because the majority of the rain does fall mostly through March and August. So we don't have that much to collect September through February. But as you can see, we get about annually, last year, we got 217 cubic yards at a cost of $40,000. An interesting fact, US Sweeping is the company we're currently using. We actually had to fire our old street sweeping company once we started putting our curb inlet grates in, because I started noticing what a poor job they were doing. Our frequency initially was once a week, and it got to we were collecting so much debris out in the street that our street sweeper just was doing such a horrible job. I mean, our landscapers used to chase them down the street because debris would be flying out the back of their truck, and they were just very ineffective. So we looked around for another company and chose US Sweeping, and they've done a fantastic job for us so far. Our landscape staff, we currently use Brightview Landscaping for all of our right-of-ways. And as you can see, they're our #1 collection of debris. We have over 791 cubic yards. The cost estimate, we have about $1 million contract with them, annual contract, but I'd have to estimate about 5% of that goes towards trash and litter pickup. Last year, we used our jet vacuum, 38 cubic yards. And the divers, we had this one project where we were in the process of locating a manhole that was buried underneath our bike path around Country Club Drive. And the only way we could really find it, we tried using a camera. We actually had a jet vac crew go out there, and the camera was getting stuck. Even though I watched them clean it about 4 times, we had about 200 feet of pipe. They were getting hung up on something. So I had these divers come out about 6 months later, and that same pipe, they managed to remove just 20 cubic yards out of 200 feet of pipe. This is a 36-inch pipe that we had running from Aventura Boulevard to Country Club Drive. And it was amazing how much they got out. But the golf course actually used them too to replace some check valves that we had on the south end of the golf course. But using divers is, I never thought we'd use one, but Last year, we actually did. Let's see, what else we have here? Our plans and goals for the future. Back in 2017, our director, Joseph Kroll, he created an ordinance for providing for enhanced stormwater management. Basically, what that does, it gives us permission to ask all the commercial properties on a biannual basis to submit reports to us proving that they are doing some type of inspection and maintenance on their own systems. We were never doing that before, but now this is really helps contribute to our accountability of keeping debris from going into the storm drain system. And starting in 2021, now we are also going to be including all the condominium properties. We continue working with our building department for all the demolition projects. So we have a lot of buildings lately have been being torn down and new ones going up. But before they start, we make sure we go out, make sure all the silt fencing's up and all the filter socks and filter fabric placed around drains. And we make sure all the debris before it's hauled out that they have a proper washdown area. And before they even get started on a project, they have to get approval before the other building inspections take place. Our main obstacle would be is basically budget. But if money wasn't an issue, I'd like to see wireless monitors in each catch basin to help determine the amount of debris inside to make it simpler for us so we can know when we have to schedule a jet vac cleaning. And that's pretty much my presentation.
Anthony, fantastic. I congratulate you on such a creative use of limited budget. As a taxpayer, we always want to use our finite funding very efficiently. So let's throw this over to Alan Dodd, who's going to give us a recap. Wait, I'm sorry. Did we have Alan as the? Yeah, we have Alan, who's going to give us his an overview of what City of Miami is doing.
Hello, everyone, and let me pull up my screen here.
We can see.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm really glad to join everybody today and talk about how we're managing water within the City of Miami, and more importantly, what measures we're taking now and have plans to do to make sure that stormwater is as clean as possible. One thing I'd like to bring is I don't think we've talked enough yet today about the importance of public awareness and education. If we get more people aware of the impact of their actions where they're not polluting, that really gets us a long way towards what we're trying to do. And I'd like to applaud the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition for your efforts today and for a while now to try and really focus on that public awareness aspect of what we're doing here. So let me go to just a quick overview of the City of Miami. We have about 470,000 residents, but that grows by about 200,000 people every day with commuters coming in. Overall, area is a little over 55 square miles with 87 miles of shoreline. About 80% of that is privately owned. Our stormwater system has about 200 miles of conveyance features. That's 100 miles of pipe, around 43 miles of covered trenches, and 486 outfalls into either the Miami River, Biscayne Bay, Little River. So it's a very large, complex system that we're trying to manage. A lot of it built 30, 40 years ago or more, and was not built to the environmental standards that we would have wanted today. And that is part of our challenge, is to try and upgrade our system to something that meets all of our needs, not just dealing with flooding and stormwater movement. Okay, so how do we keep pollutants out of Biscayne Bay right now and really protect our environment? As I talk through these different measures, I think it's already been mentioned once, it is more cost effective as you get inland and stop it at the source of the pollution before it gets into the stormwater system, And then it gets more expensive as we are dealing with the system, getting into pump stations and outfalls and trying to clean it, or even worse, cleaning it in the bay itself. But one of the biggest things that we do is street sweeping. And we have number of vehicles that operate under the stormwater, the solid waste department, that are pretty much on a 7-day, 365-day schedule, daytime and nighttime. And we cover about 60 miles of our city roadways, which is a fraction of the total roads. But they are on a routine schedule, and some areas are swept as frequently as once a week in order to deal with the trash and the debris that we do pick up on there. We also know that we have a lot of debris that gets into the system. So we have a waterway cleaning contract that's about $250,000 a year that is removing floatables, performing oxygenation, bringing oxygen into the water using a Scavenger 2000 vehicle. And it's very, very effective on trying to pick up debris that's already at the bay. Not the best place to capture it, but better than letting it remain out there. And finally, we put in place a contract to go and clean our canals and the waterways, really looking at the shorelines. And we spend about $827,000 a year on that contract. We have been looking a lot at inlet screens and trash baskets over the last year or two. We have 90 trash baskets in our system. And over the past year, we've been doing a pilot program with 20 curb inlet screens to seeing their effectiveness and how do we install them, how do we maintain them, and it looks very promising. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. We have numerous events with the public. This year, they were definitely not as much as usual, but we still were able to have 30 events to go out, collect trash, and again, build that public education and awareness program. We spend $50,000 a year with the Miami River Commission to just focus on public awareness and education. And the last thing is we put in place a number of ordinances. We talk a lot about trash and debris, but there's a lot of other pollutants that are entering the waterway. And so we have put in a ban of glyphosate products, which we know is very, very bad for the waters. Restricted use of fertilizers during the rainy season, because we know that those are people are putting out and then just getting flushed to the water. And also banning polystyrene products in our parks. One of the more recent ones that we did is we have had a huge challenge with illicit discharges coming out of construction sites. And so we've ramped up enforcement of our NPDES program. And we actually passed an ordinance that once an illicit discharge is reported to us, we will have inspectors there within an hour from the Public Works Department, Code Enforcement, and the Building Department. And if we determine the source is from one of these construction projects, they will shut the contractor down and force them to remediate whatever is causing that discharge to occur. It's been very, very effective in the 3 months that we have already had that in place. Oh, I'm going the wrong way on my slides. Okay. So what is our total program is a little over 14 million this year. And here's some of the numbers of what we have done. The solid waste department has collected 45,000 tons of trash and debris from the city streets. This is street sweeping plus cleaning up illegal dumping, which is a huge challenge that we have in our city. The Keep Miami Safe program is that volunteer program I was talking about. In the past year, they collected 106 tons of trash and debris. A lot of that is plastics, but a lot of it is other materials that we don't want on the waterways. Canal cleaning, 84 tons of debris. And that is going out 6 days a week for 6 to 7 hours every time with boats and personnel. And the waterway cleaning with the Scavenger 2000 is another 128 tons of debris. It's been mentioned earlier about the stormwater system. And one of the challenges that we do have is anything that gets on the street, gets on the sidewalks, will get flushed into our stormwater system if we don't protect it. So we are operating on a 4-year cycle to completely clean out our stormwater system. And in addition to our public works employees, we have a $1 million contract to go and do stormwater cleaning. In the past year, it removed 582 tons of sediment and other debris in our system that otherwise would have been flushed to the bay. And you can see some of the numbers as far as what we're doing. Our pump stations, we clean out the wet wells, the debris on a monthly basis, and we monitor how much sediment is in it, and they probably get cleaned out at least once, if not 2 to 3 times per year, based on how much sediment is collecting in the bottom of the wet wells. So where are we going? Okay, the biggest thing is our stormwater master plan that we are wrapping up right now, and we'll be doing some public meetings to talk about it in the upcoming months. But we need to redesign our stormwater system so that it can capture debris, it can treat and attenuate pollutants as much as possible, and make sure that whatever we are discharging is as clean as possible. And that will require us changing our standards in how we design pump stations, how we design the entire stormwater system. We'll be incorporating filters, baffle boxes, vortex units, and tidal valves, all of which will help us to capture debris and prevent it from passing through the system. Exfiltration trench. If we can reduce the amount of water that is passing through the stormwater system through exfiltration trenches or deep wells, something that allows more natural percolation, that also helps to filter the water. And unfortunately, as we look at sea level rise and our future needs, we know that we're going to need a significantly greater number of pump stations. Right now we have 13, and that number will go up significantly more in the upcoming years. So we need to design them so that they have oil water separators, that they have trash collection systems, and most importantly, a way to slow down the water, allow for more for the sediments to settle in it before it does get out to the water. And that will be part of what we're doing. Okay, and finally, I mentioned the curb inlet screens. Everybody remembers the fish kill event that we had last summer, and that was an awakening for our city commission and our mayor in particular. And so we committed, based on that pilot program, to fund 1,000 of the curb inlet screens to be put in our downtown area, which is where we have probably the greatest challenge of plastics and floatables and debris getting into our system. That's for $270,000 and will be completed by this summer. That's projected to capture a lot of nutrients that otherwise are flowing into the bay right now. And finally, I can't emphasize again, and I think the doctor mentioned it, the importance of street sweeping and cleaning. We are pushing very hard to help our sister department, the solid waste department, to increase the frequency of street sweeping. As we put these inlet screens in, it's going to capture more on the streets, and we need to get it removed. So I think working together, we can make that happen in the upcoming years. So that is a very quick summary of our program, and I am happy to stop at this time and pass it back to you.
Alan, very good. Thank you so much. I applaud the efforts that you're making, and it is true that if we are going to keep the trash at the street level, then to avoid all the phone calls from the public saying, hey, why is there so much leaves and debris? Why don't we get out here and clean this? You're just shifting resources from the more expensive in-pipe cleaning to the less expensive street level maintenance, where you can have automated trucks and even manual cleaning. So you're just shifting resources around. You're not just saying, because we're doing this, we no longer need to, we're all good, right? So very good, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Nelson. Nelson is with the city of Miami Beach, where I live and where I got my start. And the city of Miami Beach has been working on their stormwater infrastructure program for about 10 years now. And so I'm excited to have seen the progress that we're making here, and really just trying to set the standard for how not only cities deal with sea level rise and climate change, but also how we ensure that the water that we put out into the bay is as clean as absolutely possible. So Nelson, if you'd like to go ahead and take controls.
Absolutely. Hold on, let me click share screen. That did not work. All right, can you guys see and hear me?
We see, if you want to put it in full screen.
Yeah, perfect. So
there you go.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk. And I gotta say, it's been tremendously informative. I learned almost as much as one of Dr. Sansalone's classes in UF, but it's been tremendous seeing what our neighbors are doing. I'm the city engineer for Miami Beach, and I'll be probably a little bit less operationally focused in my presentation, just because that's not what I do, but just an overview, quick overview of our system. We have 175 plus drainage wells in the city. We have 48 existing pump stations, 23 of them are the old generation, and 25 of them are the new generation pump stations. We're planning another 57 stormwater pump stations, and we have 120 miles of stormwater pipelines, culverts, lots of box culverts actually, etc. And you see on your right hand side just a map of what it looks like. We clean 190% of our system. That's the latest and greatest every year. I've always said 150%, but apparently we've increased it to 190%. And just to put that in perspective, NPDES requires you to clean your system, 100% of your system once every 5 years. So we're doing basically the entire system twice a year. We're definitely doing everything we can to keep debris and pollutants out of the waterways. We do waterway cleaning as well within the waterways, right? Collins Canal, Indian Creek, Surprise Lake, and that's 3 times per week. The city removes approximately 1,500 tons of debris annually, every year. That's been our average over the last 4 years, and the city spends about 1.5 million on that maintenance program. That's just focused on removing those debris. Obviously, we have much more vast maintenance program for pumps and other things that need to be maintained, other assets. So our current strategy is what you see before you, but I'll just give you the quick 5 minutes on our background of how water ends up in Biscayne Bay from Miami Beach. So before Miami Beach was ever urbanized, back when we were just a wetland marsh, water would go from the east to the west. It always drained towards Biscayne Bay. That's because the high point is Washington Avenue. It's basically, if you guys don't know where that is, it's pretty close to the coast, Washington Avenue. So it would always drain towards the bay. And as Miami Beach started urbanizing, we started building drainage systems. Those drainage systems were largely gravity, and that became ineffective because of sea level rise and climate change. So we pressurized those drainage systems, and it evolved over time. We started adding bar screens. We started adding pollution control. Anytime we have a pump station, we have aeration achieved by the pump itself, as you see there, and flowable separation at the wet well. And our latest and greatest strategy is to implement these stormwater wells in combination with the outfalls. And that's because one thing's a fact, right? Stormwater wells are not capable of handling water quantity, but water quality is extremely important as well. And they're excellent at achieving water quality. So if we combine the two, we achieve both water quality and water quantity. And that's engineer talk, right? I mean, FDOT looking at water quality and water quantity. But that's our current strategy. And that's something we're implementing right now. We're implementing it in West Avenue. It's going to be the first big name project that's going to have this type of water treatment system. And we're also retrofitting the 6th Street pump station. We're doing that design in-house, and we're adding 5 wells to the 6th Street pump station. The reason that's important isn't only to sequester contaminants, but it will also help us from the public perception. Sometimes stormwater, when it goes on into the bay, it looks black, right? And those plumes are actually, the vast majority are not harmful. All they are is just the groundwater decomposing, the organics decomposing in the groundwater over time. They decompose and they cause the groundwater to mix with sulfur, and that water becomes tainted. It becomes tannic, the groundwater. So what the stormwater wells will do will capture that first flush of groundwater that sometimes makes it into our system and make sure it doesn't go out into the bay, even though that is not causing harm to the bay. The last thing I wanted to share in our presentation is we did a study, and we're very proud of this study because we wanted to know what we can do to help Biscayne Bay and where the real problem lies, right? And what we found is we're definitely going to keep doing everything we can to limit nutrients, but the vast majority of the problem in Biscayne Bay, and you'll see here the highlighted basins, Julia Tuttle Basin and Venetian Basin, it's related to nutrient loading from the canal system. Now, we don't know what the culprit is. It could be upstream. It could be coming from outside of Miami, right? All these canals are connected to Lake Okeechobee. or it could be within Miami. We don't know the source because we were trying to figure out what is actually harming the bay. But what we found is Miami Beach and probably city of Miami, or our neighbors as well, we don't move the needle on the bay. The fact of the matter is the nutrients are, I mean, we can do all we want. It's a point where it's diminishing returns, and we should still do whatever we can, but what we got to fix is the loading of the nutrients from the canals. So you see here, the last slide was nitrogen. This is phosphorus. We're 2.8% of the phosphorus loading, barely anything. So, and this is just some screenshots that we've shared this with the Biscayne Bay Task Force when we presented. And like I said, we don't know the source. We do know that, you know, obviously septic tanks could be a potential source of nutrients leaching into the groundwater and then affecting the canals. It could be agricultural, but if we want to fix the bay, that's what we got to do. We got to fix the nutrient loading from the canals. Thank you.
Excellent, Nelson. I think one of the things that you highlighted there was in your final slides was the importance of making sure that everybody is doing their part on here. And we have 33 co-permittees who all ride along on our MS4 permit, and we're all responsible for doing our own job and submitting our own reports. So I think that really an important thing to note is that even though City of Miami Beach, and City of Aventura, when they are doing their jobs perfectly, that represents a fraction of the totality. So we are at 10:30, but I'm going to continue the conversation and hope that, because I've got a couple of questions that I'd love to open it up to any of the public works folks, Alan, Anthony, or Nelson. What questions should elected officials and citizens be asking of their public works teams to determine if they have a good stormwater program? What should I, as an activist, be asking you guys?
That's a good question.
I would say is, do they truly understand the flow of trash and debris and how funding of different areas comes together to create a holistic program? A lot of times when we talk to them, it's being more reactive to a resident complaint or a specific issue, but I don't know if they really understand the whole process. And that's education on me and all the public works teams to help them to understand how they need to fund us in certain areas. I think that also that as much as we are getting funded now, we definitely need to increase it if we want to have an impact. And where can they best utilize those dollars to support us, to support the solid waste, whether it's in education, in adaptation, or in just other programs to overall impact the effectiveness of the program?
Well, I would say, you know, we actually have extremely informed elected officials just because of how prominent and provocative our stormwater program has been. But so they definitely don't ask silly questions, but I would say probably the best question that you could ask to determine if you have a good stormwater program is, how are we doing compared to other urban areas, right? And not only Miami-Dade County, but San Francisco, New York, right? From a flooding perspective and from a water quality perspective. And I would actually tell the group there's an excellent report. I forgot the name. It's from ASC. I actually have the book. It's called Urban Stormwater Runoff. It's an ASC report, and it tells you exactly what constituents you should see in urban stormwater, and what's typical across the nation. So we're working internally to develop KPIs to see how we're performing compared to the benchmarks.
I'm going to also answer this question only because Nelson just brought up the fact that we have a very educated commission. Our elected officials are very educated in this, and I'm going to take just a little bit of credit for that, because for any of the activists that are out there, there's videos of me bringing in plastic bags full of trash that I've pulled out of the stormwater system. and I've correlated that with flooding. And I had a conversation with a former City of Miami commissioner who basically said that they go and they clean the storm drain systems, that the thing that gets them to take action is when a constituent calls them on their cell phone and said, hey, my street is flooding. They call Public Works goes out and sends out a vac truck, right? And so the questions that I've been asking are very simple. How frequently do we clean our stormwater systems? What pollution controls are we implementing to ensure that we are preventing this trash and nutrients from exiting Biscayne into Biscayne Bay? The third thing that I do is I actually take the elected officials out on cleanups with me. So I know that Alan has gotten tremendous support from the commissioners in his entity and the mayor, and many of them have been on cleanups with us. So when you see the issue firsthand, you really don't have, and you realize what we have the opportunity to do, it really becomes a no-brainer. But I do think the public funding, that funding has been one of the biggest issues. So our second question is, DEP is currently reviewing and revising the MS4 permit resource manual that affects the entire state. As public works leaders, what would you like to see in the new permit resource manual? Any additional guidance, requirements, oversight? What do you think about that?
Actually, if you don't mind, I'll go first on this one. We've been throwing around the idea here for quite a bit, but maybe cap and trade on the bay would be the way to go. So if there's ever an opportunity to have that discussion with DEP, we might be for cap and trade on the bay, on nutrient loading or any constituent loading.
It's an interesting idea.
Nelson, then the model I would follow would be the one taken in California over a decade ago, where they have really taken a look at this opportunity. It makes sense.
Is it cap and trade, or is it just TMDLs?
No, it's cap and trade.
Interesting. We've been discussing it, but I didn't realize it's been implemented before on, I mean, it's always for emissions. I hear cap and trade, but I didn't realize it's been implemented for water quality.
Yep.
I think one other thing is, as we're talking about this, is recognizing that everything inland flows outland, and that the entire state is not the same. So as they're coming up with standards, coastal communities like ours have a different challenge than, say, Orlando or, you know, other places, and that everything that they pollute upstream is coming down. So we're dealing with not only our pollution, but the pollution of everybody upstream of us. So ways to deal with that and to help us from a regional approach, but recognizing those differences.
Is this standard that Nelson stated of a requirement to clean the stormwater infrastructure once every, inspect and maintain every 5 years, is that sufficient?
No. In some places in our city, we have to clean the system at least once a year, or even more, because it's just a natural collecting point for debris and sediments. In a 4-year cycle, it's way too long. But that is what we're physically capable of doing right now.
And Dave, all you have to do is look at the 3 performance curves I have for BMPs to see the need for frequency. I mean, we're not talking annually or every 5 years, we're talking in terms of individual months.
Right, and every entity and every environment, you need to break it down into, like Miami Beach, we have some very high pedestrian areas. Then we have, you know, City of Miami has some very large thoroughways, and so there's not a one size fits all. But I think that you know, inspecting and then maintaining, you know, building out some kind of methodology. I've asked the question before, how frequently do we need to clean our stormwater infrastructure? How frequently do we need to clean the maintenance? And from a layman, I've always thought that, well, let's pick, a sample set. Let's go clean them out. Let's go clean out the area, and then revisit that area every week, 2 weeks, and see how long it takes to get to 75% capacity or whatever the effective capacity is. And then that becomes the model for what you need to accomplish in that type of environment for your area.
So
is that wrong?
The simple soundbite is, if you don't allow this stuff to become part of the stormwater system, you don't have to take it out of there. That's why street sweeping is such an effective and economical idea. And frankly, whatever BMPs you have are going to last much longer if you do frequent street sweeping.
Hey, David, yeah, I just want to mention, like I said before, the street sweeping effectiveness, I had no idea what a horrible job our previous vendor was doing until I put in the stormwater grates, or the curb inlet grates. That really opened our eyes, and it saves me. I mean, if from my previous slides, you could see how much how little I use the jet vac compared to the amount of cubic yards I take out from landscaping and street sweeping. That's really been a game changer for us. And had it not been for the curb inlets, I never, most of that would all be in the bay right now, all that debris. Because
Dave,
yeah,
maybe it's my faith in humanity. I tend to think we're all going to do our very best to clean the system. And I'm all for increasing the regulations on that. I mean, like I said, we're cleaning it completely twice a year. But when you look at the data, it really, we won't move the needle. The municipalities just won't move the needle. We got to take care of the nutrient loads if you want to save the bay. It's not about the stormwater outfalls.
So it really seems like guidance is something that is missing and it's lacking about how to run a good stormwater maintenance program. And maybe it doesn't need to be you need to do it every so often, but maybe just better guidance and outreach and collaboration with the stormwater folks so that they can learn from the experiences that these individual entities are doing.
Yeah, it definitely won't hurt, but if you don't address the loads coming out of the canals, it's not going to move the needle.
The canals are absolutely an issue that I think the task force focused a lot on, that our summits focused a lot on, and I'm hoping that our chief bay officer is also going to be making it a point to focus on. Let me get to the last question, which is our MS4 permit has 33 co-permittees that are authorized to put stormwater into the bay. It's obvious that we have some excellent talent in each of these 32 entities as represented by our speakers today. Are we doing a good job with collaborating and sharing best practices? If not, how do we as a collective learn from each other and benefit from our shared experience?
Well, I'll say from the city of Miami perspective, I think we have a lot of collaboration and discussion with Miami Beach and the county, which is great. But we don't have a whole lot of collaboration with the other municipalities in Miami-Dade. And we probably need more forums from a professional point of view where we do get together, maybe quarterly, something to share ideas and concepts, because there's not enough exchange between all of us. And there's a lot of great ideas out there.
Dave, can I just jump in there for a second?
Absolutely, always.
On that note, I just want to piggyback on what Alan said. We have Resilient 305, of which the city of Miami Beach and Miami and the county are currently working together. But there's also Resilient 305, which is a call to work with all the municipalities. My plan is to include a Biscayne Bay water quality agenda item in future meetings with all of these municipalities that are participating in the resilient program, so that, you know, they're already meeting, they're already discussing other issues related to the resilience of our region or our community. So we may as well address that at that point.
We can't hear you, Dave.
Sorry. So we've reached 15 minutes over. I think that I think that we'll wrap this thing up right now. It's been fantastic having all of you folks as part of the panel, helping educate us. Emilio, do you have any final wrap-up comments?
Yes, I have just a quick slide here. Not much information, letting everybody know that we will be sharing a post-event survey so we can receive some of your feedback. We have also been actively looking at the Q&A, and I know there are many questions there that we really haven't had a chance to get to because we've had a lot of live discussion. So we'll try and get you some responses to that. Maybe we'll even share them with the panelists as well to see what information we can get to you. So please don't feel like we've ignored you. This was for you, for the attendees. Right now, there are about 140 people here. Also, be on the lookout for that email, because we will include a link to our website where we will have this entire recording and any additional resources. And please feel free to visit our website, BiscayneBayFL.com. We have a lot of resources there, other newsletters that Luis Rodriguez puts together. We upload them there, and you have contacts for a bunch of different environmental groups within Dade County that you can connect with. So you have people that you can connect with, documents you can download, data you can find, as well as videos to this. That's all I have. Dave, was there anything else on your end?
No, I'm very grateful to everybody who is paying attention to this issue. I'm very grateful to Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, who has appointed Irela to lead the coordination efforts. I'm very grateful to Commissioner Rebecca Sosa, who put together the Biscayne Bay Task Force. And I am also very grateful to my peers at the Biscayne Bay Marine Health Coalition, who have been working really, really hard in trying to raise awareness and get this thing kicked off. So thank you, everybody, for your time. Be safe and be kind. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We're ending the webinar now. Thank you. Thank you, all the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you, guys.
attendees.